Mark here from Okinawa, and I've come to one of the main locations here in Okinawa, the Cape Zampa. That's the Zampa lighthouse behind me, and I want to talk to you guys quickly about ND filters and using them for landscape photography. Okay, so what are ND filters? ND filters are basically a filter that you put across the front of your camera lens in order to obscure areas of brightness which may otherwise overexpose when you start to use a longer shutter speed. Okay, they can be used especially if you have a very contrasty kind of area, maybe a landscape, but also in order to create very kind of creative, long flowing effects that you get with a long shutter. Okay, I'm here today. I'm going to go through the use of graduated filters and also very strong neutral density filters with a scene that I've got in front of me today, just to demonstrate the emplacement of and the difference between a graduated neutral density filter and a hard neutral density filter. Okay, and you will understand that as I explain exactly what they are. Okay, so I said I've got a range of filters, and I do have those here. They are from the manufacturer called KANI. Okay, all of the filters come with their own little protective pouches. Okay, nice padded pouches, Velcro locking for added safety. Okay, the filters are protected inside this nice padded little case. Awesome little product. Okay, the filters I'm going to be using today, I've got a ND64, an ND1000. There's also, I'm not really going to be using this one today, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. It's called the Prevent Light Pollution filter, and it is actually a filter that I've made a video of previously, which you can see linked above. And this one is used in order to reduce ambient light pollution when you are shooting night skies, astrophotography, etc., etc. Okay. Beyond those, I have a soft graduated neutral density filter. You can see the density rating is 0.9. Same with this one, the hard graduated neutral density filter, and I'll be going through and telling you exactly what the difference is and when you would use one as opposed to the other of the graduated neutral density filters. And also I've got the reverse grad, okay, the reverse graduated neutral density filter, and again I'll be going through the scenario as to when this one is going to best suit your shooting needs. Okay, but we've got all these lovely filters. We have to find a way to safely use them on our lens. Now, bearing in mind, I'm using the super huge 95mm front threaded lens, the Irix. We need a special filter holder for these in order to work with that lens, and we've got one right here. Okay folks, this is the KANI filter holder. Okay, what you've got here, you've got a couple of pieces here. Okay, it's got some bits and pieces in here, and some bits and pieces in here. At the moment, what I'm going to be using is this, and this is my step-up ring for a 95mm threaded Irix lens. Okay, now there's two ways that I can fit this into my lens. Okay, the first one is to, on the filter holder, I just release this retaining grub screw here. Okay, and you'll see on the bottom of the filter holder I've got these two little shoulders. All right, and from there all I do is I will introduce the ring, the adapter ring for the KANI lens. Okay, make sure that that's in there properly, and then just lightly screw down the retaining screw so that everything's in there secure, and but it can still turn. Okay, I'll show you why it needs to turn in a short while when I put it onto the lens. Okay, which quite straightforward. Okay, once it's on, there you go. And with the amount of slack that's on there, you'll notice that I have that freedom of movement. Okay, if I want to tighten it up a little bit, just tighten it up, and that will just increase the resistance of the movement. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Okay, your adapter ring, and put that directly onto the lens first. Okay, make sure it's just hand tight, no great stress. Okay, and then you introduce your filter holder. Okay, make sure that it slots into place into the little recess that's there, and then you just again tighten it up just to a pinch, just so you've got a little bit of resistance when you want to move the filter holder. Okay, so it just sits like that on front of your lens. I'm going to start off with what is called the soft graduated neutral density filter. Now when I say soft, what I mean is this. You'll notice if I hold up the filter that you've got at the top a darker area and at the bottom a very clear area. In the middle you have a transition period between what is dark and what is clear. Okay? This dark area is used to mask off any highlight area that you may wish to mask off on the filter, and then you transition down to the area where you don't want any filtration to occur. Okay? The reason why you have that large area of transition is because if you are filming something that's predominantly straight lined, like the horizon for example, you may have an obstacle on that horizon, such as a rock, a boat, or just a movement of your terrain around you. And so by placing that over that obstacle, you're not going to get a hard line of filtration. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off first, because the composition we've got, there are a few rocks obscuring the horizon, so that's going to work perfectly with the graduated neutral density filter. And I'm going to be shooting video through my DSLR just to show you the effect of the graduated neutral density as I slide it into place. Okay, so I'm just going to put it for now in the first slot of my filter holder. Okay, just introduce it there, so it's not doing anything with regards to impacting the video at the moment. I'm going to start recording. Okay, and because I'm looking directly at the sun, I've had to stop all the way down to f/22, 1/60th of a second. Okay, all wonderful and good. So here we go. As you see, top of the sky, still a bit blown out, but as I push the neutral density filter down, you can start to see the effect that has on the sky, on the fact that now that the clouds and the sun are not as blown out as they were. It's a very extreme case because I am, like I said, looking directly into the sun, but you can see how now the mechanics of how this works. Okay, let's try the same thing but with the hard edge gradual neutral density filter. As a hard filter, a hard graduated neutral density filter, and the sole reason for that name being is that if I hold it up again, you'll see that transition area between what is dark and what is light is much shorter. Okay, so if you do not have any obstacle on the horizon that you are photographing, you can place that firmly on the horizon, and thus you blank out your sky and you slightly overexpose to bring out the detail in your shadows, which are in the lower part of the image. Okay, but you'll see the very big difference now with regards to the edge of the filter, and there it comes now. It starting to drop down in front of the picture, and you can see how easy it is to quite precisely place that onto your horizon. If you don't have any obstruction whatsoever, it's the best one to use. Okay, you can put that hard edge right on the horizon, on the unobstructed horizon, and set your exposure for the foreground that way. Finally, the third filter that we're going to look at today is what is termed as the reverse grad. Okay, so you actually have a clear part at the sky, you have a darker band in the middle, and quite a hard graduation, okay, between dark and light in the bottom of the filter. Okay, and the reason for this is especially when you have harsh sunsets. You can put the sunset in the middle of this dark area here, place the transition on your horizon, and hopefully you won't burn out your your highlights around your sunset, okay, by slightly overexposing for the detail that you have in your near ground, in your foreground, okay? Okay, and again, same thing. I'm just going to put this in the front of the filter, or the one closest to the camera lens. Let's switch to video mode. Let's see how we are. A little bit underexposed. Okay, so let's go to 60th. Okay, so we're at f18, 1/60th. Everything's fine. I'm level. Good to go. Okay, so the sun's dropped a little bit, and all I'm going to do is just show you the effect. If I put this filter down onto the horizon and just block out a bit the sun, there we go, and you'll see that that sun now is quite subdued in the image, and you can see as it is so quite heavily masked out that I'm now going to be able to lift my exposure in order to expose a little bit better the shadows that we have in the image. Okay. Well, this evening I've come to another spot. This is to just demonstrate the last two of the main neutral density filters that we use for landscape photography, and these can be considered to be the most extreme, okay, because in effect that's what they are. Okay, these are called they're not graduated, they are a uniform density, and I've got two of the most commonly used filters with me here. This one is what is termed as an ND64, and as you can see it just looks like a big black square, and in effect what they are is very similar to welding glass. They're very, very opaque, and in effect what they allow you to do, this one is actually a stronger, even stronger grade. This is a ND1000, okay, and what this one does in particular, this reduces the amount of light by 10 stops into your lens, okay. Now some of you are probably wondering, what the heck would you want to reduce 10 stops for? And that is the creativity of long exposure. Okay, this is how we do the shots that you see in travel magazines where rivers turn into kind of like a silky flow of water. Same with waterfalls. These are the filters that we use in order to achieve those effects. As you can see behind me here, I've got this nice line of rocks, okay, and I'm by the ocean. The ocean's moving, we've got some nice clouds up in the sky. And what I'm going to do is I've got my filter holder in place already on my lovely, fabulous Irix lens. And I'm going to be using the ND10 stop, okay? Now, the ND10 stop basically reduces the amount of light going into your camera by 10 stops. So imagine if in the middle of the day you want to shoot using a very small aperture of f22, maybe even smaller, depending on your lens, okay? And so one way of opening or allowing you to use a wider aperture is to reduce the amount of light going into the camera. Now, you do that by placing one of these solid ND filters, it's not gradiated, one of these solid ND filters over the camera, and that then allows you to either reduce your or increase your aperture or reduce your shutter speed, or a mixture of the two, depending on the effect that you're trying to accomplish. Okay, that becomes easier when you're using a stronger ND, like a 10 stop, the ND1000, which is the one that I'm going to use today in conjunction with my 15mm f2.4 lens. All right. Now, bearing in mind that we also wish to retain the details in the sky, I'm also going to be using that in conjunction with the graduated soft neutral density filter that I explained to you yesterday when we went to Zampa, Cape Zampa. Okay, so without more ado, I'm going to get ready because we're going to start imaging very soon. The sun's starting to sink on us. I want to get ready, and then I'll take you through my settings for the shots. Okay, so whenever we use our graduated neutral density filters in conjunction with our ND, our extreme NDs, we put or place our graduated filters in the outermost slot. Okay, from there we can set our graduation point. Okay, we can place the leading edge of the, or wherever we want the graduation, we can leave that in the composition. We can set the composition, and then from there, once that is everything set to go, the last thing we then do is we place our extreme neutral density filter into the holder slot or the filter slot closest to the lens. Okay, and what I normally find is easier to do is just put your thumbs on the bottom of the holder and use your 2 index fingers just to slide the filter into place. And then as a visual reference, what I normally do is I just line the filter up to the top shoulder, as it were, on the actual filter. From there I just check and make sure that everything's square, and then we're set to go. So now it's just a matter of waiting for the light, which is almost there. We've got some nice clouds in the sky. Looks like we're going to have a very nice sunset. There is a little trick that you can do with your camera, okay, just to just get a little bit of a different feel, a different look, and that's to access the white balance matrix. Okay, now the way that I do that, I go into my control setting, okay, and then you come up with this little pattern on the back that allows you to switch between a bias in color from green to blue to magenta to amber. Okay, and what I normally do is I'll click over to A7, which is amber 7 bias, and then down to magenta 7. Okay, so the shift is A7 and M7. Okay, enter. And what that then does in effect is it will give my shot more of a amber maroon kind of magenta tone, and that lends itself very nicely to sunset tones. Okay, especially when you're trying to do something by the ocean. You've got those kind of tones as a base already, so it's just nice to try and augment those a little bit more. Some people like it, some people don't, but you know, it's just I tend to use it because I like it. And photography is all about the creative mind, the individual creative mind. So let's see what gives us that. Awesome. I'm very happy with that. We are good to go, Houston.